we have to, like you said, lead by example in all facets of our lives so that others can emulate that.
Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and you know how we do this every single week. We bring you a story of an athlete, an entertainer, a celebrity, somebody from the business world who has helped us understand that why and purpose, even though very important, it is not enough. It's the underlying burn that ignites your why and purpose that causes you to show up on the days you don't feel like it, and especially after you win. Now, before I introduce my special guest and friend, Josh Kosnick, today, I do have to mention one thing is different. I am wearing a big oversized sweatshirt. His muscles are way bigger than mine, so I wanted to make sure that his muscles could be on display and I don't look like some small guy doing the interview today. And I actually have a fun story behind that we are going to tell. But I do want to highlight a couple of things so that we can have your intentional focus on today's interview. I've had the opportunity to obviously spend, having been in the business world for darn near 30 years now, but specifically doing coaching and speaking work for 20 years. I've been blessed to build relationships with some extraordinary individuals. You also, on the journey, you meet individuals. It is what it is. Josh, similar to me, we don't candy coat or sugarcoat anything. You meet some people who don't necessarily have a story, but they figure out a way to tell a story that becomes attractive. But what I really love is somebody who's actually done it. And I'm going to give a little bit of a different perspective that maybe for all the interviews that Josh has done, even after the Kairos Code became a USA Today bestseller, the interviews that came from that, all the speaking that he's done, whether you've heard him speak from a stage, you've gone to one of his events at his Five Bridges Farm, which is amazing, to reading the book, I'm going to share something that maybe some of you don't know. And these are the details that I love paying attention to. You know, many people are born into great opportunity. Maybe you have a family that owns a business and you grow up one day and say, I want to do this. And then there are the individuals who maybe have parents who have built a great business. And then you as a child say, watch where I can take and can continue a legacy. And that's one of the things that I love about Josh is growing up in a family that was an absolute dynamo, tremendous leadership from his father in financial services, the impact that he had on others' lives became an example for Josh. And Josh not only looked at it as an example as maybe one day I could work with dad, but he looked at it as an example where I could go and lead like my dad. One day taking over that financial firm as a managing partner, which through his example, through his growth, has now given him the ability, bridge, no pun intended, brother, but with a bridge that financial services did for me, what it's now done for him. To become one of the foremost recognized leaders in the financial services space and beyond for speaking. He's an actual professional EOS implementer, which we want to highlight. There's a lot of people who love talking about EOS, but he's a professional EOS implementer. USA Today bestselling author. We're going to talk about his entire story, talk about his burn, how he didn't just choose to continue in a successful business, but to make a life of his own and carry on family legacy, which is so powerful. But we're also going to talk about balance and how he attacks everything in life, which is another thing that he's always done, from being a college football player to staying in shape well beyond what most people do at our ages these days. Most importantly, having an amazing relationship with his wife, Jenna, and their 4 children, 3 older girls, and then he's got his young son. So Josh Kosnick, my friend of over 20 years, finally, long overdue, welcome to The Burn.
Thanks, brother. I got to bring you around, do my intros everywhere.
Hey, you deserve it, and this is so long overdue. I mean, this could be like a 3-4 hour episode. So I think he and I are going to do our best to keep it to 20 minutes. But you know, we've shared the stage together at multiple of our boot camps, and shared the stage at events that you've thrown in Madison, Wisconsin. What is it that you think has caused you to have this burn, to have this fire, to play college football, to actually run businesses and grow businesses and sell businesses? Where does this burn and fire come from for you?
You know, what's interesting is our good friend Ed Milet says there's always that one that shows up in the family and changes their trajectory, right? And my dad was that. You alluded to that. My dad took us from poverty to the upper middle class and built an amazing business. And I watched friends go one of two ways because I grew up in the affluent bunch, but I saw us go from, apartment to a nicer house, to a nicer house, to a nicer house as he continued to progress his career. So it's interesting. My brother's 7 years younger than me, grew up in the middle class and then upper middle class. I saw it all the way along. And I saw friends go one of two paths that were also in this affluent nature. One is they continue the legacy and build their own upon it. The other ones wait for the golden egg to drop. And I never wanted to be the one that's waiting on it because it wasn't any of my work. It wasn't like I'm just going to ride off dad's coattails and wait for the golden egg to drop and take that inheritance. That just doesn't sit in me. That doesn't sit in my ethos. So I tried to stay away from my dad for a while, quickly realized that he held the keys to what I wanted in the future and started in his firm and then took over his firm. But for me, man, I can't think of any worse compliment than say someone telling you you have a lot of potential.
Mm.
And it means that you're not living into it. It means that you have all this capacity, all these skills, gifts, whatever you want to put label you want to put on it, and not living into it. So for me, it was like constantly working against all of that talk to be able to step out of my dad's shadow and be my own man and create my own legacy. He gave me a great platform, great legacy to build upon. I wanted to take it to the next level. And for me, I couldn't think of any worse thing than showing up at the pearly gates and not matching who God intended me for to be.
Let me actually take, and that's the part of the story that I just love that I wanted everybody to hear, and it's the level of success. You know, when you actually read the book and you have an opportunity to see the principles, the values, the integrity, the actual work that has meant so much to you, I think is so powerful. I actually want to pull back and go back on the personal side here, because this is a piece that I think a lot of people overlook and they never reach their highest level of true performance. And even and I'll share as a side note, our dear friend that we both have an opportunity to have as a friend, but we get to work together, JD Crowell. When JD had contacted me, and I do a significant amount of work, coaching work with JD, he's part of our Standard Elite Mastermind. He said, "Who do you know in the EOS space?" Obviously, I was going to send him to you, but one of the things I love when I have an opportunity to introduce you or we do work together with clients is that you are an example of great discipline. And I'm going to put it out there because I think it's important for those people that are coaches and speakers. You have to be the example. You can't be a fraud and say you're really disciplined, but then it's pretty clear that you're not. And it's one of the things that I've always loved about our relationship, even though there might be gaps where we don't talk as much as we want to. And we see each other, we pick up, it's eye to eye, it's iron sharpens iron. It's this mutual respect that we both love hard work and believing in ourselves. And so I want to take everybody back to when I came to Madison, Wisconsin for an event with you. And I remember we were going through to pick up a smoothie, I think it was, and we're
Yeah.
getting a smoothie and we're heading to Carbon World Health. And we just had this real conversation in the car. And you started talking about next level performance and getting back into shape like when you were a football player. And it was kind of this, even though we didn't like become workout buddies and hold each other accountable from afar, you and I have held each other accountable. I mean, Josh, you may know the date more than me. That's probably 12, 13 years ago. And we've held each other accountable. And one thing I always say, and this is what I want you to speak to, you can only lead somebody to the level of discipline in which you live. And so I'd love for you, what are your memories of that car conversation? Because I look at it, I'm like, we literally were like, we are gonna literally push and challenge each other. And we have, but from a distance. But what do you remember from that day and that conversation?
Well, so back then I was in a suit every day. So Ben saw us, we're riding in the car, we grab a smoothie, pre-workout, and we went from business mode to, hey, we're going to attack this workout. And Ben had never been to carbon before, and we do hit training and then weight training, and then we do a stretch routine afterwards. And what I remember there, this was before Ben started his 2,400 on a day, two a day streak. So but this is pre-Ben looking like the beast that he is today. But Ben took that workout, took it to the next level with me, and then you just continued your evolution, as did I, throughout the last however many years it's been. And we both continue to dive into what is going to get us in our 40s to that next level fitness wise, because we have to, like you said, lead by example in all facets of our lives so that others can emulate that. But when I was just a year before that, we I was at your boot camp and I'm there with Jerry Rice and Tyron Woodley. I put this in my book. It had such a meaningful impact on me, is that my goal, my vision, I had already achieved the peak of where I wanted business wise and was just going to push that vision forward. I had let some of my health standards slip in achieving that mountaintop. And so that was just a year before us going to carbon together, where I really started pushing myself because of your boot camp and the visioning exercise that you put us through. And so the next thing I remember about that, we whooped each other's ass in that workout and we were pushing each other because we're both competitive. But then the next day, you're given a talk to my firm. And I'll never forget this because it was just a couple months after my father-in-law's suicide.
Mm.
And I wanted to talk through the impact of that because financial planning had a significant impact on how my mother-in-law is able to live today. But I'll never forget what you said to me. You go, that is probably the hardest talk I've ever had to follow in my career because it was such an impactful and personal talk to me. But it was one of those things where I had to share that story even in my grief to be able to talk about the important work that my firm was doing. And then you came on and capped it off and had an amazing evening.
This episode of The Burn is brought to you by our dear friends and partners at QLogix. Now, you know I don't co-sign things I don't believe in, and I believe in John Chiarando and the team at QLogix. He's built multiple 9-figure businesses, real integrity, real character, the kind of guy you want in your corner. But here's what happened. All that expertise, all that knowledge, it was just his. Locked in his head, his decisions, his team, you couldn't access it. So John created QLogix. He basically said, how do I make everything I've built available to people who actually need it? Here's what that looks like. QLogix helps you see the blind spots in your business, the gaps you don't even know you have. You don't know what you don't know. They're your tour guide through that. QLogix helps you build systems that make your business work better, or they ask better questions so you're approaching it in the most effective way. And QLogix has access to a network of businesses and resources, real connections, real synergies that can accelerate what you're building. If any of that resonates, go to q-logix, logix.com/Ben. Fill out a form. Their team will research your situation personally. Then they'll tell you straight, can they actually help? Thank you to our friends and partners at QLogix. Make sure you find out more about QLogix and your opportunity to win more with them today. You know, I think back to what you're saying, and there's so much to your story. I encourage everybody, and we're going to make it super, super easy for you. We will link straight to Amazon and all the places where you can get the Kairos Code. But, you know, from the book to your story to adversity to challenge, I think sometimes people think that, everything is just supposed to be the easy road. Let's stick on discipline here where, you turn on the TV and it's almost like media and politics and the regular environments and complacency speaks to you to just say, just wait your turn and everything will be okay. There's no waiting for your turn. You've got to beat down the door. There's no eliminating adversity and challenge. And you've faced a significant amount of adversity and challenge. How has your ability to stay balanced with your family, and you and I believe this the same. Balance doesn't mean the exact same amount of time.
Yeah.
Balance means that, like, yes, my family's important to me, and they are important to me, and they're going to know it. It means that working out is important to me, and everybody's going to know it by the way I show up when I walk into a room. And business is important to me because I'm going to give everything. So when we say balance, it means a balance of priorities, not that you're spending the exact same amount of time. We both have demands. But I want you to really speak to, when we think of discipline, how have the disciplines or the awareness that everything can and should be important, how has that actually made it, adversity is never easy, but how's it made it easier to get through adversity, easier to allow family to be an outlet, or when it's tough in family, you guys have been through a lot of significant family challenges, allow work to be an outlet. Why has discipline and focus in so many areas been so important to you as an example for others?
Yeah, we are multifaceted human beings. I am not just a business owner. I am not just a coach. I'm not just a speaker. I'm not just a father. I'm not just a husband. I am all of those things like puzzle pieces put together. So, how we create discipline, one of the simple things, and I learned this from another person in the financial industry probably 20 years ago, but we have our want tos and our have tos. And our want tos got to get on our calendar first because our have tos will bleed into them otherwise. So Ben's want tos, I know this, and he's posted about it often. He's going to be at all of his kids' basketball games. Those are in his calendar before he books another speaking engagement. All my girls' dance competitions are in my calendar before the year starts, before I start booking anything, because I'm going to be there for them. But working out may be a want to for you. For Ben and I, it's become a have to. But all those have to get in your calendar before your have tos. Think about how productive we are when we have a flight at 1 p.m., how productive we are from 6 a.m. to noon. Those are usually our most productive days because time is compressed. So if we start thinking about, and this goes a little bit into EOS, January 9th was quit day for most people's New Year's resolutions. Jenna and I, our first exit, we owned an Anytime Fitness franchise. We sold that many years ago, but we knew influx in January, by February 1st, we don't see those faces anymore. But if we compress our time, day tight compartments, and then our goals, anything longer than 90 days is long term. We think of long term like 10 years, 3 years, 1 year. We need to think of long term anything longer than 90 days. And neuroscience backs this up. Neuroscience says that our brains are built as sprinters, not marathoners. And so this is why the majority of people don't hit their New Year's resolutions. First, they're not prioritizing and creating the discipline, as Ben always talks about. But secondly, they're thinking too long. If we think into 90-day sprints, then pick our head up, see what we did well, see what we did poorly, reassess, and set the next 90-day sprint, there'd be a a likelihood or a far greater percentage of people that would hit their New Year's resolutions by truncating those into quarters. But for me personally, there are some just non-negotiables like working out every day has to happen. And Ben and I have seen this all over the place, but influencers always have the perfect morning routine for you. You know what your perfect morning routine is? Your morning routine. But the
So
intention
true.
of your morning routine is very crucial. The intention is this: what do I need to do to get my mind, body, and spirit ready for battle? Whether that's breathing exercise, working out, meditation, prayer, reading, whatever it is, you create it and then get your mind ready for battle every day. Because, like Ben alluded to earlier, none of us are getting out of this life unscathed. We're going to suffer loss. We could suffer divorce. We could suffer death of a very close loved one, loss of business, whatever it may be. All those battles are waiting for you. So, what do you need to do to get your mind, body, and spirit ready for battle every single day?
Mm, absolutely love it. And I think that's where when you choose to do those things, all of those things that you need to do doesn't mean you've got a 30-minute or an hour action step. A lot of times it's creating the alignment of understanding, planning what are the action steps. One of the action steps may take place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but you identify, I need to get this done. But when you mentally prepare to do those things, I think you nailed it. People get so caught up in, well, I'm supposed to do a cold plunge, and then I'm supposed to do a hot
Yeah.
cold contrast, and then I'm supposed to do this, and then I'm supposed to put my feet to the ground and meditate. All of those things are great, but if you don't like some of those things, why are you doing it because somebody else likes doing it? You have to identify the things that cause you to step into the environment and to attack that environment one day at a time. I absolutely love it. If we could go more finite, and I want to specifically use the word finite. A lot of times in our coaching work, I'm brought in for accountability, really creating that burn, figuring out like, why have you been underperforming, or why do you keep having these ups and downs of, you win and then you stop winning. How do you show up after you win? And, we build prize fighter days and we do all of these things. But then from an organizational standpoint, and this is so powerful, where the amazing work that you're doing and why I love referring, joint clients. I think a lot of times it's, well, we're competition. There is no competition between Josh Kosnick and I. Like, I love pushing Josh. I know he loves pushing me. And it couldn't be any more of a supportive relationship where the work can be hand in hand. A lot of times what I love And I remember it was so cool. I had one of my visits. It's amazing how things work out. No coincidences. It just so happened I was with the Indiana Fever for a basketball game last year. And JD was like, hey, is there any possible chance you're going to be in Indianapolis? And it's when you had one of your private 2 day, I mean, getting finite to the details from an EOS standpoint with JD Crowell and Responsive Capital Ventures and their entire responsive team. And I just so happened to be there. I mean, it was amazing, right? So I walked down. I had just come from walkthrough. I'm literally in my Indiana Fever gear. I walk in and we have this amazing conversation, but I got to see the whiteboard. I got to see the conversation. I got to sit back and observe you attacking the details from an EOS standpoint, really finite details, finite commitments, challenging everybody to really own what they were responsible for. Tell us a little bit, and if you can, and this is not saying somebody who, read Gino Wickman's book and loves to talk about EOS, but can you help people understand what goes into actually being a professional EOS implementer, the
Yeah.
study, the research, the licensing, how your work is so different and so important to find the details for people to drive success?
Yeah, it's interesting. The best analogy actually comes from someone on JD's team. We were out to dinner down in Charleston when I was with them last, and she asked me, "What's the hardest part of your job?" And I go, "Honestly, shutting up." And she
Mm.
goes, "Tell me more." I said, "Well, in a one-on-one coaching relationship, I oftentimes know the answer and they're looking for me to give them a directive answer. In an EOS session where I'm with this leadership team, you guys know your business far greater than I do. So my job is to play a facilitator in the room to get you guys to find the answers amongst yourselves, not me give you the answer." And she goes, "Oh, that makes a ton of sense." And that's really where it is like, how do I get, and this is where the real EOS work comes into play, is how do I get these amazing leaders to be open and honest with each other so that the real things are being said so they can work on the real issue and what's best for the team, not arguing over who is right, but we're focused so hard on what is right that we're not afraid of hurting each other's feelings. We're not afraid of saying what needs to be said. So in these rooms, we get nitty gritty with each other to, okay, here's the rocks or priorities. Here's the issues very specifically listed out. And we're going to attack those with a feverish pitch, like to actually make sure that we're moving the ball in the right direction. So one of my biggest roles in there is playing that facilitator to be open and honest. So like you said, anyone can pick up Gino's book and you'll get some great tools out of there. And there's several companies that do some self-implementation and they may do it even pretty well. What they're missing is that facilitator in the room that can help you see the forest through the trees and ask really powerful questions of the team to get them moving at a more exponential level. And then there's probably 12 other tools that the book Traction just doesn't teach, that an EOS implementer teaches and helps them move forward. But that's the gist of it, man, is really getting that room, whoever is in that room, and some do it better than others. JD's got a phenomenal team. They opened up right away. But some it takes a little prodding and me leading with my own vulnerability to get them to be open and honest. But that facilitation is a way different skill set than coaching.
Right. And I would encourage anybody listening, we're going to make it easy to stay connected with Josh, to follow on social media, to get to his website to learn more. But I'm going to encourage anybody and everybody, if you are running a business and you're trying to find that edge in the details, exactly what Josh just described, him sitting in a room, if you guys can envision him asking those powerful questions of your team, if you can see that, smell it, almost feel like that's what I need, reach out to Josh, reach out to me. I'll make a connection, to Josh for you. But that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to come on here today. Josh has such a powerful story. He's a real life example of doing it. But quite frankly, there's a lot of people in this world today where we don't know if it's an AI that's actually running an account. There's an AI coach that was built that looks like a coach. It's not a human being. And we're reaching a point in this world where we're hard pressed to find the individuals like you and I have, who have darn near 50 years of experience in the business world at a young age, at a high level. So I encourage you to reach out to Josh if you have questions. I want to pull it back now to your burn to really finish our time together. What was it when you talked earlier about that golden egg? because I want to go back to it. I want to paint this. Not everybody was in a family where, family ran a business and you could have had that opportunity. So I want to speak to everybody listening, and then I want to turn it back to Josh. There's people right now listening who are still waiting on the sidelines. There's people who haven't gotten off the damn sidelines since COVID. But there's people who now, because of COVID and things of that nature, they're real quick to go to the sideline and watch rather than take action. So I want to speak to that individual, whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whether it's uncertainty, whether it's pain, whatever it might be. And I want you to listen very closely to how Josh intentionally chooses to connect every day, to not having that wait for the opportunity, wait for the golden egg, wait for somebody to do it for me, wait for somebody to just put it on a platter so I can easily take it and run with it. How do you connect to your burn? How do you connect to that fire? How do you connect every day to saying, my kids are watching me, our clients are watching me, and you know what? I want to look in the mirror and know that yeah, you do have some darn big muscles, and I think you could still play college football. Hey, you might be able to get a good NIL deal the way that you're built these days. But what causes you to say, I'm just going to go own it today? How do you do it? How do you connect to it? What's been important for you to remain that example, but to really connect to that burn and attack and win your days?
Yeah, man, every single day is an effort to just reconnect with my purpose. I'm actually take this back to a story I put in my book. Early on in my career, my financial career, I got told I was a waste of talent. And I didn't, it was a rumor. The person, I had a really successful start, but I was still trying to live two lives. I was single and still trying to go out and have fun. And then I would show up the next day, uh, maybe a little groggy or a lot groggy. And I was the hardest piece of that rumor, because and the reason I say it was a rumor is because no one ever admitted to it, even the person, because I asked the person and never admitted to it. But it put that chip on my shoulder because I had to do the hard thing, which was look in the mirror. And that rumor, even if it was completely made up, fabricated, or whatever, was accurate. I was a waste of talent at that time. I was trying to get by in talent, and I had to look in the mirror because the reason I got to play college football wasn't talent. It was my work ethic. I was never the fastest, never the strongest on the field. And, but I worked my butt off, and I had to replicate that in work. And I think one of the hardest places for most people to look is in the mirror
Mm.
because they see the things that they're not actually accomplishing, the things they know they should be doing on a daily basis and not doing it. And you end up in this guilt and shame spiral when you don't do what you know you need to do every day. And so for me, it's reconnecting with who God made me to be, the unique gifts that He gave me, all the trials, the tribulations, the things I've overcome, all the things from even starting in sales at Circuit City when I was 16 years old. That led me to being a great financial advisor. Being a great financial advisor led me to being a leader, which led me to being a great leader. Selling a couple businesses has now allowed me to coach in different ways than others would be able to coach. Like everything I've done throughout my life, I could either believe that that was a coincidence or it was God's divine way, and I choose to believe that it was God's divine way of building me into who I was meant to be. But, and this is what Ben gets at and does so well and communicates so well, we're not done yet. We're not done growing. And here's the one thing you're listening to two coaches today. Here's one red flag I always give someone that's looking for a coach. If you're interviewing a coach that does not have at least one coach of their own, immediately run for the hills.
Amen, brother.
It is because I know Ben has a couple coaches, I have a couple coaches. Like we're always green and growing or we're ripe and rotting. There is no staying the same. So for us to continue to lead by example, we have to continue to grow. And for me, that's every day through reading the Bible, books, getting poured into from my coaches, and continually learning from the people that I'm coaching as well. Like JD is a great example. That dude's a genius. I love watching him lead his team. I love watching his team operate around me and me learning and being able to cross over lessons. Like I just hooked JD up with another client that's building the same thing, and a few steps behind, JD graciously took that call. Like these are things I'm taking different lessons from the financial world into the contracting world, physical therapy world, into the real estate world, like different items that cross over and cross pollinate that can be great lessons. And I'm learning all the way along.
I love it. I love the intentionality that you're showing up with. You know, our friend Andy Frisella, who I know it's always good for us to have an opportunity to catch each other at some time at First Form, at least once or twice a year. But you know, the relationship that we have with Andy. You know, Andy always talks about just these long periods of time. Pay attention to the people that have done it for a long time, you know, 1,000 days to 10 years to 20 years. And I think those things are going to become really important. So I would just encourage everybody, a couple of things here. Number one, make sure to Google. Okay. I've made mistakes in the past, like Google the person that you have an opportunity to work with. That's a very, very important thing. And make sure that person is an example. And Josh, I'm just grateful for the iron sharpens iron mentality. This is over 10 years of really pushing and challenging each other physically, over 20 years of having a relationship in the business world where I look to you as an example and somebody I appreciate how you show up every day in everything that you do as a family man, as a father, as a husband. So thank you for your example. And thank you for finally coming on the burn. I shouldn't say finally. That's on me. I should have made this happen a long time ago. So it's a blessing to finally have you here with us.
It's an honor, and I appreciate our relationship. And I want you guys to all know when Ben was in Carbon, he had some chicken legs. Over 2,400 straight days of him doing jumping jacks, calf raises, everything. He took that to heart when he got called chicken legs. He's been working hard.
Hey, they're still skinny legs, but they're a little bit better these days. So. Hey, Josh, I look forward to the continued opportunity to push each other, but to also push people that we now get to win together with, which just makes our relationship even that much more special. So thank you for being an example. And to each and every single one of you listening, we're going to make it very easy for you to purchase the book, The Kairos Code. We're going to make it very easy for you to stay connected to Josh. And please stay connected with us. You know, every week, this is like I'm going on 9 seasons worth. Different stories, powerful stories of individuals showing us that it's that underlying burn that ignites your why and purpose that causes you to show up on the days you don't feel like it, and especially after you win. This has been The Burn, and we'll see you next week.